My name's Tyler, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Todd.
It's Todd.
Friday, today's January 10th, 2011. And the only way I made it from January 10th, 2011 till today is because I was beaten down, I surrendered, and I took a few suggestions. And here's what I've learned. Okay, today, we're going to start a journey. You and me. We're going to go on one. Now, a lot of people come in here with some mixed emotions about the steps. I get it. And I found out the number one reason why people don't like the steps is because they didn't think of it. Because as alcoholics and addicts, we love the stuff we think of ourselves. We have the best ideas, right? I mean, sometimes they're bad, but we don't care. And we've heard all of the best ideas. I'll stop tomorrow. As soon as I get a new job. Here's my favorite one. Just one more drug deal to set me up for recovery. How about that one? Yeah, we said that one. I'm going to ask you to go on a journey. Now, the beauty of the journey is today I'm asking you to go 16 inches. I'm going to talk to you about 16 inches today. That's it. The next hour, we're going to discuss and we're going to go 16 inches. That's it. We're going to start with step 1 of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, here's what I want people to understand. A lot of people may say, I don't believe in the steps. If you go to the gym every night and you work out, will you get stronger?
Yes.
Do you need to believe in weights?
No.
You just need to lift them, huh?
Yeah.
You don't need to believe in the steps. You just need to do it. Just do it. You're here. You're already here. And a lot of people think that's an admission of surrender. And in some small extent, maybe it is an admission of surrender. But it's no work. I told the guy that when I came today, when we brought him down today, I said, listen, here's one thing I know for sure. If you sit in treatment and expect to become sober, you will have the same amount of luck as if you sit in a garage and hope to be a car. That's what you got. If you sit in treatment and think, I'm going to be sober, I'm going to be sober, I'm going to be sober, you might as well sit in a garage and think, I'm going to be a car, I'm going to be a car, I'm going to be a car. It ain't going to happen. So we start on step 1 today. We admitted we were powerless over whatever, that our lives have become unmanageable. Why do we say whatever? Funny you should ask. Because alcoholics and addicts aren't the only people, or alcoholics aren't the only ones that have found that this works. Let me read off some of you. These are legitimate 12-step programs. The 12 steps are the same. The only thing that's different is the first part of step 1. The only thing is what word we put in there. There's alcoholics. Cocaine Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, Marijuana, Prescription Pill, Adult Child of an Alcoholic Anonymous, Al-Anon, Alateen, Crystal Meth Anonymous, Codependency Anonymous, Clutters Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Emotions Anonymous, Families, Food Addicts, Gamblers, Overeaters, Eating Disorders, Undereaters, Neurotics, Nicotine, Sexaholics, Racists Anonymous, Sexual Compulsives Anonymous, Sexual Fetishes Anonymous, Under-Earners Anonymous, Sexual Recovery Anonymous, Survivors of Incest Anonymous, Caffeine Anonymous, Social Media Anonymous, Liars Anonymous, Online Gamers Anonymous, Homosexual Anonymous, Shoplifters Anonymous, Recovering Couples, Cheaters, Criminals, Gang Members Anonymous, Rageaholics, Procrastinators Anonymous. All of them have found that these 12 steps bring you to a spiritual experience that allows you to change your life. This book has the answer. Has the answer. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. When somebody told me about the steps, I said, this is complete bullshit. It will never work, but I'll do it anyways. And here I am 10 years later, not just sober, but happier and more fulfilled than I have ever been in my entire life or ever dreamed of. I don't think about it anymore. It doesn't affect me in any way. I can go where I want to go. I can do what I want to do. I can hang around who I want to hang around. And I live a completely normal life with never crossing through my mind because I had a psychic change that these steps promised me. And it happened. Well, how in the world do we do it? How? H-O-W. How do we do it? Easy. 3 steps. When we go on this journey, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. That's it. Honest, open-minded, and willing. H-O-W. Be honest, be open-minded, and be willing. And I promise you, you can have that life too. Promise you. Promise. You know, a guy made a comment in my lead that made perfect sense, and I never thought of it this way. I don't know if anybody else heard this. He said he never once heard someone say they did the steps and it sucked. Never. I've heard the steps suck from people. How many did you do? I didn't. I was talking to you when you first came here. Yeah, I did the steps last time. How'd the 4th step go? Well, didn't do that one. Well, then you didn't do them. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. That was the second writing. The original writing said, never have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Never. I saw some statistics that this Harvard school did a long time ago. They went to all these things. They did 3 million people that were in 12-step programs. And they checked. Those who just went to treatment and worked no steps, having long-lasting sobriety, they consider that 18 months or more. They follow these people for years. 18 months or more sobriety, 7% of them who just went to treatment. Then they said, okay, how many of you people went to treatment, got out, went to meetings, maybe even got a sponsor, but did no steps? 23% of them made it. And they said, okay, how many of you went to treatment, got a sponsor, worked steps 1 through 3, and stopped? 32 of them. They said, okay, well, how many of you went to the treatment, got out, got a sponsor, went to meetings, did steps 1 through 3, said, screw it, I'll do 4 through 7, 4 through 8, up to the amends, and then stop? 56 of them say so. They said, okay, now how many of you went to treatment, got out, went to meetings, got a sponsor, did steps 1 through 3, said, screw it, I'll do 4 through 8, then you did 9 through 12, and you made amends, and you worked daily on this stuff, and you admitted when you were wrong, and you sought through prayer and meditation to improve, and you gave back what you learned. 89% of them were sober 2 years later. So you can come to treatment and sit in the garage and hope to become a car, or you listen to me, this old guy, for an hour a week. I'm going to be a little bit tougher this time. I'm going to give you an assignment. You can choose not to do it. Or you can realize you're not going to waste this pain and try to do something about it. What will happen? Let me tell you what the book says. First of all, page 20, it's 1 paragraph. I love it. It's maybe my favorite one in the book. It says, you may have already asked yourself, why is it that all of us become so very ill from drinking? When I say drinking, it could be smoking, shooting, eating, whatever it is that your vice. Remember, I just went over a whole bunch of these things. Whatever it is, how has it become so ill from doing this? Doubtless you are curious to discover how and why. In the face of expert opinion to the contrary, we have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. If you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? It is the purpose of this book to answer these questions specifically. We shall tell you what we have done. Before going into a detailed discussion, it may be well to summarize some points as we see them. I will never, ever in my life, my sponsor pounded into me when I was when I finished my steps. He said to me, don't ever, 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 ever say you're a recovering alcoholic. I am a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. I'm not cured. Not cured. I still have it. But I am a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. Recovered from what? The book tells us, a hopeless state of mind and body. Who knows that hopeless state of mind and body? Everything in your will is to not get high or drunk that day. That's all you want to do. That's the only thing when you wake up, today I'm not going to do that. And at the end of the day, what happens? You did. You don't know why. In the face of everything. So what lays out step 1? I'm going to get into exactly what step 1 is. If you have a big book, read it. If you don't, get one. And start with the doctor's opinion. Doctor's opinion written by Dr. Silkworth. Let me tell you a little something about Dr. Silkworth. Dr. Silkworth was a doctor back at this time. Now back then, you know what they did with alcoholics? Put them in insane asylums. That's what they did. They had no idea what to do. Sigmund Freud, people have heard of Carl Jung, pretty famous psych guy. The guy who sponsored the guy who sponsored the guy who sponsored the guy who sponsored the guy who started AA, okay, the lineage from Bill W. himself, went to him. Dude was filthy rich. Tried everything, all these medications. Finally went to Carl Jung. Finally got in front of him and said, what do I do? Carl Jung, one of the smartest medical minds of our time, looked at him and said, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm out of ideas. Sorry. And he walked out as one of the greatest doctors ever. So they threw people into the insane asylum. That's what they did. Well, Dr. Silkworth, see, back then they loved to give you medications. That's how they made money. Let's pump them full of some stuff, give them Thorazine, we'll walk around like this for the rest of our lives. They may not drink, but hey, they'll be here in the insane asylum. That's what we're going to do. Dr. Silkworth noticed something. He noticed that Bill W. and Dr. Bob, these two guys, Dr. Bob from Akron, Ohio, Bill W. from New York, who came to Akron, Ohio, started this fellowship in Akron, Ohio. And Dr. Silkworth started seeing these people who were hopeless. The Carl Jung talked to, these people, who they had nothing else left to do. They were just tossing them in insane asylums. And in a year or 2 years, he didn't recognize who they were. They were completely different people. So Dr. Silkworth got a hold of these guys and like, wait a second, what's going on? I've gone to school for 20 years. I have studied and worked in this addiction field, worked in insane asylums. I have dealt with nothing but alcoholics my entire career. Studied it. It's my life. I get nowhere. And you've got miracles. Well, we do this thing called the 12 steps. He said, well, this is pretty good. So he started speaking up. He started saying, don't come to me. I know I'm a doctor. Don't come to me. Come to these guys. I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. These guys got something going on. He was hated. He was divorced by his wife. They had to close his practice. He was blackballed, never practiced again. How dare you say that us as medical doctors have no idea what to do. And you're going to send them to these guys. This room full of drunks. They sit around, they drink coffee, and they do these steps things, and that's the medicine you're giving them? We all went to school and went hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So that people come to us, we give them a cure, and they give us money. And you're telling them, don't come here, come over there. And he did it anyways. So he wrote the doctor's opinion. And he wrote a couple things I think that are pretty important for us to know. He says in the doctor's opinion, there's just a couple paragraphs I want to read you in his letter that he wrote. He put, we believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics, now that's one thing I want you to, there's a chronic alcoholic and there is a acute alcoholic, not a space cute. Okay, he's like, no, that's me. I'm the acute alcoholic. No, there's chronic alcoholism and acute alcoholism. Chronic alcoholism, which brought you here. Chronic alcoholism means when I try to stop, I can't. And when I try to stop for an extended period of time, I can't. And when I start, I don't know what's going to happen. That's chronic alcoholism. Acute alcoholism means once I start, I can't stop. But I can put it down and say, this caused me some problems. I'm not going to drink the rest of my life and do it. Who here had a pretty negative consequence because of their drugs or alcohol? Pretty serious one. And said, after that, that's it, I'm done. Could you? No. Sane person. We're sane people. We've been sober now for a while, sitting in this treatment center. We make pretty good decisions. Turn the stove on really hot, you touch it once, I'm guessing you're not going to go back and touch it again. Yet you did. Chronic alcoholism. Acute alcoholism touches the stove once, it's like, that's hot. I'm not going back. And they can stop it there. Once they start, it's a problem. Chronic alcoholism, our alcoholism is in full effect whether we are drinking or not. It's bigger. If you're just here because you drink too much, if the only reason you're here is I just want to get away and be sober for 30 days. Punch a cop, you'll go to jail. Sober 30 days. Works perfect. The problem is bigger than that. I'm not here because of a substance. The problem is here. So we'll go back to this journey of 16 inches. Here's what he talks about what this is going on here, about these chronic alcoholics. It's the manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These alcoholic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit, they found they cannot break it. Once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon human things, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. Goes on to say, men and women drink essentially. See if you guys know that. Why do we do it? Why do we start doing it? After we did it once. It's a pretty easy question.
Feels good.
That's right. We like the way it makes us feel. You'll never once hear me say, my worst day sober is better than my best day drinking. I will never say that in my entire life because that is a lie. Now, what I will say, and what I think everybody should think about, my worst day sober is better than my last 30 days drinking. My last 30 days getting high. But we sometimes trick ourselves and say, oh, you hear people in meetings say that stuff. I don't know about you. I lost my job today. My wife left me. My dog died. But this is still better than my best day drinking. Bullshit. I had some good days drinking. I remember that night at the club. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
The two girls, they were smoking hot. We had an after-hours party at the house. I had enough money. There were no cops involved. Man, there was like 3 girls to every dude. That was fun. That's way better than my worst day when I'm in recovery. But I also remember 30 days before when I'm sitting in handcuffs and I don't know what to do. I have no job. I'm living in my car that barely runs. I got the police after me. Forget 3 girls, I don't have 1. I'm dodging from pharmacy to pharmacy, scrounging up pennies in my couch in order to try to get something, working any hustle I can to get $3 or $4 so I can go and get another hit. Never having enough. Not even enjoying the one in front of me because I'm worried about where the next one's coming from. My worst day in recovery is a hell of a lot better than that day. So, it says in here that we drink because we like. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, causes injury, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented, unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort, which at once, by taking a few drinks. Who here has ever been dope sick? Or had the shakes from drinking? Or you need one, okay? Who here would be in withdrawal of some kind, not even take one yet, but be on your way to get one, or be opening one, and the dope sickness goes? Welcome. You're at home. That doesn't happen to normal people. It is so pressed in our brain that just knowing we're getting one takes away the entire physical sickness. Ain't that some shit? That's what we're up against. We have an allergy. Just like someone who's allergic to bees. If they ever get stung by a bee, bad shit happens. We have an allergy. And once we take one, craving kicks in. There's no stopping. I said in my lead, and I'll say it again. The worst thing that non-alcoholics tell us is, why don't you just stop? That never crossed my mind. My mom told me that once, and I was like, Jesus Christ, thank you, Mom. I've been to jail 4 times. I have 7 felonies, lost my teaching career. No one will talk to me. I'm penniless. I'm begging you for $5 for something from McDonald's that I'm probably going to go get a $1 fry and then go try to get the rest in dope. And I never thought about just quitting. Or this one. Why don't you try some willpower? Oh, willpower. Why didn't I think of that? You tell those people, eat an entire box of X-Lax, then use willpower not to shit their pants. Because it's the same thing. When they take the X-Lax, something happens inside of them that they can't stop. When we take a drug or alcohol into our system, something happens inside of us that we can't stop. That's just the way that it is. Book goes on to say that ease and comfort that comes from, by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. Who hates that? Alcoholics in the room. Watch other people that can drink normally. Ain't that a bitch? There are people that can do that. I even met someone, this dude that I knew in college could come to our house once every 3 months, do 2 lines of cocaine, and then never talk about it for a year. I'm like, what are you doing? Who are you? I thought he was alien race. Or people. This one blew my mind. I knew people who had Vicodin prescriptions that were 6 months old. Mine didn't make 6 days. 6 months old. I remember I had one of my buddies ask me once, we got some drugs at a party once, and then he came over a couple weeks later and goes, what'd you do with the extra drugs? I'm like, what the fuck are extra drugs? What are those? Did you get those at Save-A-Lot? I mean, I don't know, what are extra drugs? He's like, we know the stuff we bought last time. There ain't no last time. There's this time. And there were times, guys, in my whole life, speak to the drug users for a minute, that I thought I found the pile that didn't run out. You may know what I'm talking about. It was the day before the Super Bowl. This is way back when some of you guys were really young. And the Rams were playing the Patriots. We had one of those big gallon buckets. You know, those huge jugs. And we would, every time me and my roommates come home, we'd take our change and we'd put it inside of this thing. And the day before the Super Bowl, we went to Coinstar. We dumped it in there. We had a few $100. We put together some other money and we got some cocaine. It was the biggest pile of cocaine I've ever seen in my life. And then we flopped it down on that table like it was baking flour. I felt like Scarface. And I thought I had done it. I have just found the pile of dope that will never run out. This is it. I mean, look at it. I was actually telling people, want some. I never said that. I was sharing. This was it. I had reached it. I had reached my addictive nirvana. Here it was, the pile of dope that never ran out. And we got ready for that Super Bowl. Man, we looked forward to it it was fantastic. Kickoff happened, everything happened. We knew this was it. I'm good. I'm good through next Super Bowl. Halftime, guess what we were doing? Begging for money, trying to figure out a place to get more dope. The pile always ran out. It didn't matter how big it was. It didn't matter how big the bottle was. It didn't matter how much of a tab I had at the bar. It didn't matter how big the bag of weed was, how big the come up was. It didn't matter any of that. It always ran out. Always. And so I searched and I searched and I searched and I searched for the pile of dope that would never run out. And I found it once I got sober. And it started when I did step 1. I had a spiritual experience. And things are happening in my life today that never run out. Never run out. It's amazing. I'm not begging at halftime trying to get more of this. I'm not out hustling, robbing folks, committing felonies to get a little bit more of this. It ain't going anywhere, Marie. I got it. I found it. But it took some work. And it starts with step 1. So we admit that we are powerless over alcohol. Our lives have become unmanageable. A couple things. First of all, we start with we. I said we are going on this journey. There's nothing you're going to do or I ask you to do that I will not do myself. I've done the steps a few times. Here's what I can tell you about step 1. The success at which you do the rest of your steps and you live your life is in direct proportion to the success and understanding that you have of step 1. Shitty step 1 equals shitty recovery. Because once we have reached the fact where we understand what we have, that it is 2 parts. There's a phenomenon of craving, right? We have a spiritual malady. Our spirit screwed up. There's a phenomenon of craving. and we're allergic. When we come to that realization, we can't mess with it anymore. And we take that 16-inch journey. When you walked in the door, you knew it. I'm crying. My kids don't know what's going on. So I decided to Google somebody in treatment. I don't know why, but I couldn't take it anymore. I'm committing felonies. I don't know what to do. They're catching up with me. I can't stop. You knew it. You got friends getting in car accidents. I'm lying to the one person I say that I love, my girlfriend, the one person who's never lied to me, who's always been true to me, I'm lying to her to cover some shit up. You knew it. I love my wife, I love my job, and I'm throwing it all away over some alcohol. Throwing it all away. You knew it. You knew it. I'm not telling you anything you didn't know. I'm actually going to go 16 inches south to believe it. Believe that pain ain't never going away if you don't stop. Believe that your life will be different if you take 12 steps. Believe that when you take a drink or a drug, you are different than other people. You can't have just a couple. You can't be the once a month Coke guy. You can't go out on a Wednesday. I'm just going to drink on Wednesdays. You can't. You can't. On the other hand, it says, hold on, let me finish this other part. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many of them do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through, who knows this, the well-known stages of spree, emerging remorseful, with a firm resolution not to drink again. I'm not drinking today. I started drinking. Oh shit, I can't stop. Oh dear God, I am so sorry that I drank and I'll never do it again. I'm guessing that's been uttered by a couple of folks. Never again. I will not do this again until next time. I promise you. And you know what? Give you a lie detector and you'll pass it. You mean it. You mean that. When you say never again, you mean that with every inch of your soul. When you look at your kids in the eyes, when they're crying, where's mommy? Where's daddy? Why didn't they show up? Why are you crying, mommy? Why are you crying, daddy? And you're at that spot and you look at them and you say, I promise you I'll never do this again. You mean it. You know you're an alcoholic. You know you're a drug addict. Until we work steps and we deal with our entire spirit, we can't make that promise because we can't stop. This is repeated, this whole idea of the spree, emerging remorseful, firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over and over. And unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope on his recovery. On the other hand, strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems, he despaired over ever solving any of them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. The only effort necessary being that they are required to follow a few simple rules. A medical doctor in the addiction field who spent his entire life's work dealing with alcoholics and addicts came to that conclusion. 172 other groups who saw these steps being done, who said, I don't have a problem with alcohol, but I do with eating, I do with sex, I do with violence, I do with this, I do with that, I do with online gaming, I do with social media, I do with worrying about what people think about me. Said, you know what? This shit works for us too. So you don't have to believe in the weights, but lift them. So now let's look at step one. We admitted we are powerless over alcohol, allowed to become unmanageable. What does powerless mean? Powerless means two things. It means we are able to control how much we use once we start using it. We can't control the frequency, we can't control the amount, and we can't control what happens once we do. I used to have a shirt that I wore, a t-shirt in college. I used to think it was funny that I wore it growing out because I was that drinker. It said, sorry for what's going to happen later. It's my favorite t-shirt. I used to wear it. Hey, there's the guy with the t-shirt. Sorry for what's going to happen later. That's what powerless means. I cannot control the amount. I cannot control the frequency. And when I do, I can't control what's going to happen. Unmanageability means I'm unhappy with the consequences that happen. Now, one thing that's important to remember, there's a semicolon here, which means it's a different thought. Admitted we were powerless over whatever it is, new thought that our lives have become unmanageable. Now, my life can be unmanageable in recovery. That's why I have steps. I haven't drank or used drugs in close to 10 years now, and I still work the steps. I just did the fourth step over something that happened in my life about 2 years ago. Because, forget the first part, my life can become unmanageable. Life happens. I promise you, just because you stop drinking and stop doing drugs, that doesn't mean shit's going to start being great. It doesn't happen that way. I wish it did. It doesn't. Real stuff's going to happen. People are going to piss you off. You're going to lose a job. Boyfriend or girlfriend may cheat on you. Kids will get in trouble. Something will happen. But what we remember is that when we go through this journey, if we work these 12 steps, honestly, with an open mind, and we are willing, we will be amazed at what happens. All right, a couple last things. What I want you guys to do, to write, and we're going to discuss it here in a minute, but I want you to write a paper. And I want you to write in that paper, I'm not giving you a length requirement. I want you to talk about that time when you realized just how powerless you were. I want to know about the worst day. I'm not talking about when you woke up with a hangover, or, oh my God, there was that time that I stumbled through work, or I forgot to button my button on my blouse, and so everyone giggled at. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these moments of despair. When you ask yourself, how did my life get to this point? What happened? Why can't I stop? Why, no matter all the reasons in the world I have, I can't? No matter how much I love another person, I still can't stop. And I want you to tell that story. I want you to write it down. I want you to dig deep inside at that moment when you realized, and parents, it happens at this point a lot, you get to a point, who's a parent in this room? And who would do anything up to and including die for their child? You would. You love them that much, huh? It's unconditional. It's bigger than any love that can possibly exist in this world than when you give birth to a child and you raise it.